O.J. Simpson has just been released from prison in Nevada just after midnight local time.
People are going to now be staking out pretty much the entire state of Nevada to see where O.J. goes.
A tense situation unfolding in Puerto Rico, and it's growing more dire by the minute.
The big problem is still power. Only 5% of the grid is back online.
We are sending tremendous amounts of supplies, tremendous amounts of food and water, and we are sending great people to help.
Outrage over the national anthem protest continues across the country.
We need to pray before the flag. We need to pray before the anthem. As a country, as a community, that's what we do.
President Trump has been rolling out the plans for tax reform this week.
I think it's important for Democrats and Republicans to come to the table.
This is about putting money back into the people's hands. The economy is not going to take off by the government taking our money.
This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to pass tax reform and to restore our jobs, our wealth, and our great American dream.
And we kick off this hour with a Fox News alert. O.J. Simpson officially a free man. The 70-year-old released on parole overnight at 12:08 in the middle of the night in Nevada after spending 9 years in prison for a botched armed robbery.
Adam Housley is live for us in Las Vegas with the very latest. Adam, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, we got the word actually from Tom Scotto, one of O.J.'s friends. He was there at the bail hearing a few months ago. He was also been at O.J.'s side really throughout this entire thing. He texted Fox and said probably the most overused statement the next couple of days: the juice is loose. So that's how we found out here at Fox that O.J. had walked out of the prison in northern Nevada. We have some video provided to us, I should say, by the Nevada Department of Corrections. About 6 seconds, you see O.J. sitting at a table signing the papers. Also a still photo of that as well. We're told O.J. walked out 12:08 local time about 4 hours ago, close to 4 hours ago, got into an SUV, not a Bronco, and drove away. We're told that there was a man driving they didn't recognize. There may have been more people in the car. Scotto says he was in that SUV with O.J. We're also told that the Department of Corrections, the spokesman for the Department of Corrections, told O.J. Simpson upon release, "Don't come back." And O.J. said, "I don't intend to." And we're told they do that often when people get their parole papers here in Nevada, that they say that to try to encourage people to reintegrate into society. Now, as to where O.J. will reintegrate, that's the big question. Basically, the whole state of Nevada is staked out at this point. There's a chance he could go up to Tahoe, he could stay in the Reno area, he could already be on a private jet down here to the Vegas area, or they could be driving down here. And guys, that first picture, we're told, if you get it, $20,000 is the going rate right now, depending on where O.J. ends up. And we do believe, at least from the latest information, he may end up right here in Vegas, where he has some connections before he returns to Florida at some point. Back to you guys in New York.
Thank you, Adam. That is unbelievable. What does that say about our society right now? As you said, Pete, what would you do if you got on a plane and you saw O.J. sitting right next to you flying across country?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd cash in $20,000 bucks.
All right, let's bring in former governor of Arkansas, Fox News contributor, and former GOP presidential candidate Mike Huckabee. Mike, let's start with O.J. Simpson here for a second. Where are we in terms of race relations 23 years after O.J. Simpson became not a star running back, but really a story?
I think we have to be honest and say that race relations are nowhere near perfect, nowhere near they need to be, and it requires an extraordinary effort on every citizen to stop looking at people externally and to see them as fellow human beings and to pay respect to them and forget the race. But it's always been a problem, and it's going to continue to be. But one thing I would note, I've just been watching the Ken Burns series on the Vietnam War, something that I guess maybe I had forgotten. I lived through the 60s and 70s. That was my teen years. Guys, I'm going to tell you something. We're not as divided right now as we think we are. You want to see division? Go back and remember how divided this country was on things like not just the war, but on race. And it was far, far worse. So we've made a lot of strides, but I think sometimes we forget how far we've come. But it doesn't mean we don't have a long distance yet to go.
That's so true. If you don't understand and look at history, then you tend to hyperbolize the extremes of the moment, forgetting that maybe it was worse at previous times. Speaking of hyperbole, what's happening down in Puerto Rico is unfolding. The president heading there tomorrow to see firsthand. But Democrats, including the mayor of San Juan, are using some really harsh rhetoric to sort of trash the president and indict him for not doing enough. Here's what the San Juan mayor had to say yesterday.
I will do what I never thought I was going to do. I am begging anyone that can hear us to save us from dying. I am asking the members of the press to send a mayday call all over the world. We are dying here.
She later literally put on an SOS hat saying, and a shirt that said, "We are dying here." Your reaction, Governor?
I can understand her frustration. She's in a position, she's overwhelmed. But I would also say that sometimes when you're in a leadership position, it's important to take charge of the situation and work with the people who can help you. Going on television and trashing the very people who are sending supplies is probably not the best strategy. I think what we see in the governor is a person who is truly in charge as much as possible. But can I mention a couple of things that make this so different? When 100% of the power grid is gone and all the power is out and all of the debris is over the roads that would let the crews get in. You know, you saw pictures of her standing in front of thousands of pallets of supplies, but the problem is they can't be distributed internally because the roads aren't clear and the drivers are home taking care of their families and trying to fend for themselves, so there's nobody to drive the trucks. I mean, this is, if people want to know what would happen if we had an electromagnetic pulse in the U.S. and all the power went out, look at Puerto Rico and realize that's what we would be facing. So this is going to be a long-term thing, and maybe one thing the president could do if I were advising him would be tamp down the expectations. This is not going to get over quickly because the infrastructure has to be rebuilt not by the government but by the power companies which are privately owned, and a lot of those utilities, it's just going to be a block by block, street by street rebuilding of everything from the ground up, and that is not going to be quick.
How much of a disservice is it for the Democrats to jump all over this? It's a political opportunity they feel for them. But, Governor, you know this is what people hate so much about politics. We lose sight of what's really going on. This is a tweet as an example from Senator Elizabeth Warren. She says, "I just got off the phone with Mayor Carmen Yulín Cruz. I told her to keep up her heroic work and leadership on behalf of Puerto Rico." I mean, I could read you tweets all morning long. I'm not gonna bore you with that, Governor, but this is what people hate so much about politics, isn't it?
Well, it really is. This is like going to a family funeral and fussing about the potato salad. What you need to do is to focus on the immediate issue at hand, which is getting things restored. I don't know how this is helpful, and I don't see how the mayor believes it's helpful, but she's being exploited. I feel for her because I'm sure she's physically and emotionally absolutely worn out. But to be exploited by the networks and exploited by people in the party who are wanting to make this a political issue, one thing that the FEMA director said was that she had not been a part of the meetings, showing up at the briefings, and that would be a huge help for her to be integrated into the recovery plan.
All right, Governor Huckabee, it's time for football. We're going to switch gears to that now. We're about 2 hours and 22 minutes away from the first NFL game kickoff over there in London, Saints versus Dolphins. As President Trump says, it's very important for NFL players to stand today. Why don't you weigh in on this? What do you think happens today, and where are we on this issue?
It depends on whether the NFL wants to continue to attract audiences and fans, or if they want to be a political organization. I get it that NFL players have a right to speak their minds, but they need to do it on their own time. And if they really want to be political, I got a suggestion. There are elections almost every year in America. Leave the NFL, give up your millions of dollars of salary, and run for public office, anywhere from the school board all the way up to running for president, and fix it. You know, if you're better at this than anybody who's in office, then I've always said, then get off your hands, go sign up for the ballot, run for office, get elected, and do a better job. But disrespecting the national anthem, I don't know how that makes America a better country. I just don't see that.
Governor, you're seeing teams like the Cowboys.
Positive or productive thing.
The Cowboys are going to stand up now. The Steelers are coming out of the locker room. But a lot of these teams are still trying to thread a needle, take a knee before and then stand up, or lock arms rather than put their hand over their heart. Does that work, or do Americans just want to see, hey, honor the flag and take your protests elsewhere?
That's exactly what they want. And look at the numbers. The viewership numbers of NFL are plummeting. People are burning their jerseys. They're burning their season tickets. They're saying, I'm not going back. Look, at the end of the day, the NFL is a business. And when business starts running their customers out of the store, they better put something in the shelf that people want, or they're going to go the way of businesses that are bye-bye. And that's what the NFL had better wake up and see. And I don't know why Roger Goodell has misplayed this so miserably. I mean, he lets Kaepernick wear socks that depict cops as pigs, but he won't let the Dallas Cowboys, for example, a few months ago, wear tribute to the Dallas police officers. And it's political correctness gone amok in the NFL, and the fans are sick of it. Yeah. And they're proving it by walking with their feet away from the NFL and from football.
Absolutely. I think the fans have spoken. I would be surprised if we saw many people kneeling.
I agree.
Later today. Governor Huckabee, great to have you on.
Thanks,
Always
Governor.
love your perspective.
Thank you, sir.
Good to see you guys.
You too.
Great weekend.
All right, turning now to some other headlines we're following in a Fox News alert. Chaos in Canada. The stabbing of an officer and a high-speed chase that left several people injured are now being investigated as acts of terror. First, police say a driver plowed into a police car in Edmonton outside of a football game, stabbing the officer several times before running off. Police believe there was an ISIS flag inside of that suspect's car. Well, later, police going on a high-speed chase when they thought they spotted the suspect driving a white U-Haul. The van running into a group of pedestrians before flipping over, injuring 4 people. Police arresting the suspect, who they believe acted alone. And after another Fox News alert, a violent showdown between voters and police as a Spanish region fights to break away from the country. Police in Catalonia forcing their way inside voting centers, smashing glass and breaking locks to seize ballot boxes. Millions of people have been voting in the referendum in defiance of the Spanish government, which had pledged to stop the poll after the country's constitutional court declared it to be illegal. And rock star Marilyn Manson rushed to the hospital after being crushed by a stage prop right in the middle of a concert.
Oh!
Manson seen climbing onto the prop during the New York City show when it started to give way, falling right on top of him. The concert cut short. The singer's rep says he was injured, but sources tell Variety he should be okay. No word on whether any upcoming shows will be canceled. And the world is saying farewell to a game show icon. Monty Hall, the host and co-founder of Let's Make a Deal, has passed away.
You check door number 3. Door number 3 is the one I'm going to show you for your 59 cents right now. And Sharon, you get yourself hamburger.
We all know him. We all love him. Hall's daughter says he passed away from heart failure at his Beverly Hills home on Saturday. Hall hosted Let's Make a Deal, which premiered in 1963 and became a TV staple for decades. He also raised nearly $1 billion for charity over his lifetime. That's incredible. Monty Hall was 96 years old, and what a life he lived.
What an icon.
I want to go back to those microphones that are really long.
Like Bob Barker?
Yeah, like why can't
Monty
we
Hall?
use those?
You might take that back if we actually do.
Dave, can you get us one? Come on, in the break.
We'll see. We'll work on it. Well, we've been telling you all about it. The mayor of San Juan slamming President Trump's response to the disaster there. So what's really going on? Her hat and T-shirt, an example of it. The deputy FEMA administrator will join us live to set the record straight.
And this former cop is so upset about the NFL protest, he's burning his tickets and spending his Sunday. Oh, yes, he's spending it with Fox and Friends instead. Stick around for this one. The mayor of San Juan, Puerto Rico, firing back after President Trump slams her poor leadership during the disaster relief effort.
Maybe he's used to women who have to be told what to do. You know, that's not who we are here in San Juan.
This as more aid arrives, maybe even the aid that was behind her during her press conference. And FEMA accuses this same mayor of skipping meetings in their joint field office. Joining us now with the latest is FEMA Deputy Administrator Dr. Dan Kanuski. Doctor, thank you for joining us this morning. So a lot of focus on the San Juan mayor. If you could, as someone who's been involved in the discussions, how has the collaboration been with her and other officials on the ground?
Well, first let me say that having a unified command is the key driver to success in any disaster operation. As you've seen in Hurricanes Harvey and Irma, we worked very closely with mayors and governors from throughout Texas and Florida. And I'll say for Puerto Rico, we've had a strong and collaborative relationship with the governor. There's also 78 municipalities. Now, we can't necessarily satisfy every single one at every single time, all the time. But I think if you ask the other 77 mayors, they'll say that we've been good partners with them. We certainly feel that about them.
So your answer leaves out one of the 78. Do you believe that San Juan has been a good faith partner, a part of the unified effort?
I can just say that the mayor of San Juan has not participated substantially in any efforts at the Joint Field Office. Now, that's where all three levels, federal, Commonwealth, and the locals, work together to develop plans, to execute those plans, and to deliver aid to those in need. Other mayors have been participating. They're connected to us either by satellite phone in far-off areas all around Puerto Rico, as well as being on site. And again, this is in San Juan where this Joint Field Office is.
Well, and we're talking about a place that's over 1,000 miles away from the U.S. mainland. The president has made that point. How much harder does that make it for these relief efforts to get the resources where they need to be? I mean, has the criticism been fair, or do you think people are not looking at this from the right perspective?
Well, we all knew that there were going to be substantial challenges if, in fact, this was going to be nearly a Category 5 hurricane with a direct impact onto Puerto Rico, and that's, in fact, exactly what happened. We had commodities pre-staged, we had personnel pre-staged, either on the island or just off the island on ships. But that's not enough to sustain operations for weeks and months. So we realized early on that we would need to have substantial support from the U.S. mainland. There were planes loaded with personnel, with supplies, ready to go in the aftermath of the hurricane. Unfortunately, the damage was just so devastating to the communications network, to the energy sector, as we're all aware, but also to the airport. And though the airport, we were able to clear the debris quite quickly, the air traffic control system, an absolutely critical asset, was severely damaged. And quite frankly, it was like trying to push a bowling ball through a straw. We were trying to push all of these assets from the mainland, and we weren't getting in there. Now we are.
Why would the mayor of San Juan not participate in that command center if it's in San Juan?
I can't answer that question. I can only say that we are very focused on disaster operations here, and to the extent that she or any other mayor wants to provide input in the process, we not only welcome her, but we expect that kind of that kind of guidance. We certainly, me sitting here in Washington, 1,500 miles away from the island.
Sure.
I can't tell you what exactly is going on in San Juan, but she certainly can, and our planners on the ground need her input.
We got to leave it right there.
Dan Knutski, thank you so much. We'll be right back.
Thanks, Dan.
24 minutes after the hour now, and we are back with a Fox News alert. Chaos in Canada, 2 attacks being called acts of terror there after a police officer is stabbed and a group of people are run over by a van.
Police say the driver of a white car plowed into a police cruiser outside an Edmonton football game, then hopping out and stabbing the officer several times before running off. Thankfully, the officer is expected to be okay. But police believe there was an ISIS flag inside the suspect's car.
Later, police say they found the suspect in a U-Haul at a traffic stop, leading to a high-speed chase on busy streets. The van mowing people down along the way, injuring 4 people before flipping over. Police have now arrested the suspect, who they believe has acted alone. But we will, of course, keep a close eye on this one for you this morning.
I'm sure he was disgruntled, just wanted a job.
Yeah. An ISIS flag in that car.
Yeah.
All right, switching gears now. All eyes will be on NFL players today to see what they plan to do after national anthem protests, of course, have sparked a huge debate across our country.
A retired New York detective and NFL season ticket holder was so outraged by the players kneeling that he decided to take a stand of his own. Watch this.
I can't pay and I can't watch this happen. These people sit down and protest against cops. I'm burning my tickets. The end of an era. I'm sad to see it happen, but I'm sad to see what happened to America even more.
The man in that video, Brendan Finn, joins us now. Brendan, you feel totally disrespected. You want an apology.
I do. I want an apology from the NFL, from the players who are disrespecting law enforcement, disrespecting the flag, disrespecting the military, essentially disrespecting the country. And what's lost in all of this is that the protest started anti-law enforcement. Okay, Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reed, they took their knee to protest law enforcement. And you come to find out that Colin Kaepernick has a hidden agenda. It's not as hidden anymore. $25,000 to the Joanne Chesimard Foundation. She's a cop killer. She's living in Cuba. This is what the NFL is standing for? I have a real problem with that.
Absolutely. And you pointed out it's a double shot against the police because the protests started about so-called police brutality.
Right.
Then they're kneeling for an anthem that we all honor. Cops serve that flag every day. You're policing the streets. You see the incident in Canada. It's Canada, but it's still police officers that deal with the brunt of these things. Yeah. Yet you have to watch a sport where you're disrespected. What should the NFL do? Could they bring you back?
I miss it so much already. But I can't go back because I feel it's a slap in the face. I mean, maybe an apology. Maybe they say, hey, listen, we're really sorry that we did that. We were wrong. We shouldn't have done it. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I'm pretty, I live in the real world. But what we have a real problem is the flag unites us. The flag is our symbol of liberty and freedom. Americans love the flag. There was an article in the Post about that the other day, how we revere the flag. I adopted 2 sons from Ukraine. They were around 10 and 15 at the time. The 15-year-old said to me, I can't believe how you people love the flag here in America. You fly it everywhere. And I think that says all. That says it all.
We can't lose that. We can't lose it.
As a fellow Giants fan, I want to explain to the audience the magnitude of your decision. And I want you to explain it because Giants tickets aren't just a piece of paper. It's not tickets. There are familial consequences to that. These are tickets that are passed down from generation to generation. You went with your dad. My dad went with his dad. This is about tradition, yet you were so willing to, in essence, throw that all away in support of our nation. Explain your decision. I'm
glad you asked that question. I had to call the man I got these tickets from. His name is Bob Harrington. He's a World War II vet. And I was with trepidation. I said, Bob, I burnt my tickets, and they're the tickets I got from you that I pay for. He said, no, I agree with you. Wow. I agree with you. I spent 2 years in naval hospitals from injuries and illnesses he got from World War II. He said, I can't stand for that either. And that really, he's a World War II vet, so you do the math. This man means everything, and I had real trepidation telling him, and I'm so relieved that he stands with me, but I knew he would.
And the emotion in your voice is the same emotion that I heard in my dad's voice about this. I mean, this is a guy, his dad died when he was young. He used to go to games. This is his tie to his dad. And yet, last week's protest just hit my dad to the core, and it means football means nothing, in essence.
Right. I didn't even turn it on Sunday, right after I watched what happened in London, and that's what really enraged me. Kneeling down for the American national anthem and standing up for God Save the Queen. Is there any more bitter irony than that?
Well, we'll see what happens this morning. Brendan Finn,
well,
thank you for your service.
Your post has had over 1 million views on Facebook, so it's clearly resonating with people.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, the mayor of San Juan slamming President Trump's response to the disaster there, although she hasn't attended any of the FEMA meetings. Our own Geraldo Rivera goes one-on-one with her and has some tough questions. The exclusive interview live from Puerto Rico next.
You don't want to miss that. And don't stand for the anthem. You are off the team. The high school coach making big headlines this morning for that one. Stick with us.
Thirty-three minutes after the hour now, we are back with a Fox News alert. Much needed aid arriving to the hurricane-ravaged island of Puerto Rico as locals desperate for food, water, and electricity. At least 16 people have died. That number expected to rise as the recovery continues. Government officials estimating that at least 10,000 people are on the ground helping with relief efforts right now.
The mayor of San Juan, Puerto Rico, firing back after President Trump slams her cooperation during the island's humanitarian crisis.
Fox News correspondent at large Geraldo Rivera is live in San Juan with an exclusive interview with Mayor Carmen Yulín Cruz. Geraldo, take it away.
You know, Abby, it's very distressing to me. I am underwhelmed by the coordination and the extent and the quantity and quality of the aid coming to Puerto Rico. But I understand some of the logistical challenges. After all, this is not like Texas where you can drive, down from Oklahoma with a truck, or Florida where you can drive down from Georgia with a truck to help out. We're a long way from the United States, 1,100 miles from Florida, an island. It's very difficult. But I must say, I'm right by the the airport here, and I have not heard relief jets coming in, and it's already 7:30 Eastern time. I don't know why the skies aren't filled with relief aircraft. I know ships are coming in, but I tell you what, I really lament in this politically riven island where you have a Republican governor and a hard left-wing Democratic mayor she's blaming the mayor is blaming Donald Trump for the lack of aid. It's really sad. Here is my part one of my exclusive interview with San Juan's very critical mayor. How are you feeling about what's going on?
Well, it's the aid isn't getting here as quickly as it should be getting here. There are people at all municipalities literally starving, dehydrating. Of course, our power grid is off in most of the island, and even when it comes on in various portions of San Juan, it goes back out. So, for example, we have tried to have our hospital go back to speed, but then the electricity goes on, and we have to do all the bacteria testing, which takes 3 to 4 days. So we need to stabilize that. We need to stabilize the communications. We need to be sensible. You know, when FEMA asks people to register on the phone or to register via internet in an island that has no power, you know, common sense has to prevail. So we go back to the pen and paper and just do things the old-fashioned way, bring them to a data point where data entry people can take care of. That's it. But it just seems like some common sense things that should be happening are not happening. But I want to make sure that I differentiate that between the structure response and the heartfelt response. FEMA people, HHS people all have their heart in the right place. I have gotten tremendous...
How about the President of the United States?
I think the President needs to get the information that he needs to get. And apparently he hasn't been getting it, or he hasn't been watching the news.
But are people dying? I've been traveling around. I don't see people dying. I spoke to the doctors. They saw 53 patients, and they had a person who was septic, but nobody dying. I wonder.
Well, dying is a continuum, right? If you don't get fed for 7-8 days and you're a child, you are dying. If you have 11 people like we took out of a nursing home severely dehydrated, you are dying.
So do you wish you had characterized that a little more?
It is. It is the way it is. I said it the way it is. I don't have to characterize anything in any way that is not the reality. That is the truth. He who has eyes will be able to see it. He who has an open heart will be able to feel it. Those that prefer to be blinded to injustice, that's their issue. I have no time for that.
How much of that is politics? The fact that you and the president are different parties and...
Well, I'm not a member of the Democratic Party. I have democratic values, shared values with the Democrats. Senator Marco Rubio's office came here. He's not a Democrat. General Buchanan, don't take the word of a 5-foot-tall, 120-pound mayor.
You're plenty big enough,
General
Mayor.
Buchanan said yesterday, we don't have what it takes to deal with this situation. So don't take my word for it. Take the general's word for it.
All right, that's part one of my interview with the mayor, who, as you heard, still claims people are dying, although the death count is 16, has been 16 since the storm. I could find no one dying, and she was highly critical of President Trump. Part two of my interview, which will, I'm sure, generate some controversy, is in the 9 o'clock hour. But as I said, I severely and profoundly lament the fact that that politics has introduced its ugly head. The situation is bad enough. Back to you guys on the air.
Harold, I want to get your thoughts on this. We had a FEMA administrator on just moments ago, and he issued the following statement. The mayor of San Juan has not participated substantially in any efforts of the Joint Field Office. Other mayors have been participating. What's your take on that?
Well, she's very feisty, she's very independent, and she's very partisan. I don't think that you can. Puerto Rico is an island, as I said, split in half. The elections are highly contentious. I think she has a loathing for Donald Trump, and in her mind somehow dismisses the effect of two historic back-to-back storms and absolutely gives a green light, a free pass to the power authorities here, who have run a bankrupt agency, the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority, bankrupt, $6 billion in debt, 16,000 miles of rotten lines that were sure to fail in the first blow. They went out even before the hurricanes happened. So I think that she needs an open heart and some gratitude, and I think that the problem is that the president chose to tweet about her, and that's what made a lot of people angry. Why is the president, punching down that way? I think it was unnecessary, and this is an unsavory controversy, and I wish it never happened. Back to you.
Well, Geraldo, it's so important to get your perspective there on the ground. Great interview. Thank you so much. We'll have more of that later in the show. Geraldo, thanks.
And now for a preview on what may else be headed toward Puerto Rico, Rick Regmuth.
Yeah, a little bit of a drier day today than yesterday. That big batch of clouds we were talking about yesterday has moved off towards the west. So if you look at the future radar, some spotty showers moving across the island throughout the day today, overnight tonight, and in towards tomorrow. It's the tropics. It is certainly hurricane season. That just means we will see a lot more moisture, but nothing that is going to be as bad as what we saw yesterday. So that's certainly good news. Across the continental 48 and up towards Alaska and Hawaii, things looking pretty good. Chilly out here across parts of the Northeast. A very chilly day yesterday. A chilly day again today. That will change. We're going to warm back up. We're also going to watch big snow moving in across parts of the northern Rockies. Winter storm warnings in effect there. So we're going to see some spots picking up some really measurable snow. Some of that will move down across parts of the central Rockies as well. Temperature-wise, though, take a look at this. The heat is still on down across the south. Houston, another very warm day today. But aside from that, we've got this warmer air mass is going to move back towards the east. So we can't really get that fall in, guys, that a lot of people would like to have that to stay. We're going to warm right back up.
All right.
All right, don't get those jackets out yet.
Yeah,
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, Rick. Appreciate it.
All right, turning now to some other headlines we're following. A Benghazi hero shuts down Hillary Clinton after she demanded a bigger response in Puerto Rico from President Trump. Clinton first tweeting, quote, President Trump, Secretary Mattis, and DOD should send the Navy, including the U.S. NS Comfort, to Puerto Rico now. These are American citizens. Chris Baranta, who defended a CIA compound in Benghazi from Islamic extremists, now firing back, tweeting this. Wish you had that sense of urgency while you were watching the ISR feed during our 5th firefight in Benghazi. Or did you not consider us Americans? Wow. Also, the soccer fans plummeting to the ground after a safety barrier collapses. Take a look at that. Officials saying a barrier broke as fans were celebrating a goal at the stadium in France. At least 25 people are now injured, 4 of them seriously. Officials say it's still unclear what exactly caused that incident. The game was then suspended. And these 2 high school football players are kicked off their team for protesting during the national anthem. Their coach at the school in Texas, a former Marine, had them remove their jerseys as soon as the anthem wrapped up, right on the sideline. Listen to this.
I still love them. I understand they're what they feel. But as a coach, we had rules, and I don't want people disrespecting the veterans in that sharp uniform.
He says they have rules. The coach says he was fine with them protesting, just not during the anthem. And that is a message we have heard from people all over the country.
Well, you know what?
This.
And your coach is in charge. That's what I learned when I was
There are consequences.
Absolutely.
There are rules in this world that people have to follow.
Yes. All right, now a hard turn here to terror in Canada. A cop stabbed and people run over. The ISIS ties in a live report next.
And O.J. Simpson is a free man released from prison overnight. So where is he headed now? Well, not Florida. The state's attorney general has her way. Pam Bondi is joining us live. You don't want to miss that interview. We're going to ask her all about what happens next.
Carnage on the streets of Canada overnight after the stabbing of a police officer in a high-speed chase that left several people injured.
Yeah, the attack now being investigated as an act of terror after police found an ISIS flag on scene.
Yeah, in the car apparently. Ellison Barber is live in Washington, D.C. with the very latest on this. Ellison, what are you hearing?
That's right. The one thing that really suggests terrorism here, according to police, is an ISIS flag found at the first scene. The attack allegedly started outside of a Canadian football game Saturday night. The Edmonton Eskimos were playing, and police say an officer was standing in front of a traffic barricade when a Chevy Malibu came speeding down the road, hitting the officer and sending him flying in the air. Here's the Edmonton police chief earlier today.
A male, believed to be 30 years old, then jumped out of his vehicle and viciously attacked the Edmonton Police Service member with a knife. A struggle then ensued, during which the male suspect stabbed the officer several times before fleeing the scene on foot, northbound, down 92nd Street. Because of the officer's injuries, he was transported to hospital.
The officer was taken to a hospital, as you heard him say there, and police say they sent out an alert to other officers with the name of the person that Chevy Malibu was registered to. Later that night, Edmonton police say officers were working at a traffic checkpoint. They stopped a U-Haul and asked for ID.
The officer recognized the name as being very similar to the registered owner of the Chevy Malibu. The U-Haul truck immediately fled the scene and was pursued by police officers towards downtown Edmonton. Throughout the chase, the truck deliberately attempted to hit pedestrians in crosswalks.
The suspect hit at least 4 people. Police say the 2 attacks are related and now being investigated as terrorism. According to the Edmonton police chief, they found one piece of evidence in the front seat of the Chevy Malibu, an ISIS flag. They say the driver is known to police. He's a 30-year-old man. Right now, according to the chief, they believe he acted alone, but at this point aren't ruling others out. The police officer stabbed is expected to survive. The condition of the injured pedestrian, those at least 4 who were hit by the U-Haul, is unknown. Abby, Pete, Todd.
All right, Ellison, you'll keep a close eye on this one. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ellison. Thanks, Ellison.
All right, O.J. Simpson is now a free man, released from prison overnight. So where is he headed now? Well, not Florida. If the state's attorney general has her way, Pam Bondi is joining us live to tell us more about that.
Plus, we've got former Trump deputy campaign manager David Bossie, plenty to talk to him about, and he is on tap as well.